Cowboy here. Yee to the ha to the end of that word. And I am joined by none other than the incredible, the wonderful, the aromatic. I haven't been around it, but I just have to assume Krashy. Hi, Krashy.
Yeehaw, man. How's it going?
It is good. I am so happy to be having this discussion with you. We have another discussion on Krashy's channel. This is kind of part 2 of our discussion, even though I guess it's like part 1 of its own discussion because the two topics don't intersect.
Yeah.
But please go check that out. There's a link in the description and a link on the pinned comments. Today, Krashy, I want to talk about what we want to see, sort of our wish list, and even our theories of what they probably will do once we enter season 2. We know that season 1, part 1 ended with the release of mobile, and a lot of people thought the ranks would reset or we'd be moving into season 2. We'd get all those sweet tickets for making it to master rank, but none of that turned out to be the case. We now have a battle pass that says season 2, but our ranked is in season 1. So I would assume, and I could be wrong, that season 2 will officially start at the end of this battle pass, which is in about 31 days. I mean, what are your thoughts on when this season might even end?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, with a little bit of the mismatchiness of the season v season half, not half season 2 thing, we can just take it like that. You know, we have to just assume it's going to end when the timer ends, because what else are we supposed to expect? So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, there's definitely some things that I think we can talk about, like that we want to see and that we expect to see. I know specifically that, you know, I had been kind of bringing up like maps and or map changes and things that we can see, but also, you know, potential rank changes. We've talked about rewards in the past. I definitely think we can lightly touch on that. And there's a lot, because the cool part about where we are with Pokemon Unite is while we do have a good grasp of what the game is now, we don't actually know what Timmy's design philosophy is and what they want for their game, which I think is an important part of the creative process for them. They have to make a game that we want and enjoy. I think they've done a pretty good job at that, but they also have to make a game that they want and that they want the vision of this game to be. So we have to kind of go along that journey and discover that with them as they, you know, push things towards us.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing I think for sure we are not going to see, and I could be wrong here, I don't think we're going to see them extend the game time at all. I think that's going to stay at about 10 minutes, but I think there will be things that they change within that that make the game feel fresh and exciting. But given that they really want people to play this on their phones, I know a lot of people have said, hey, maybe the timer extends. We've actually seen videos where the timer is longer, which is a little confusing. So it's possible that at some point they have a 15-minute mode. I think more likely what happens with this game is we just see changes to how the main battle mode functions. And one of the biggest would be Zapdos at the end of the game. I think they've gotten so much heat for it. They've gotten so much like, this has to change, you need to do something about this, that seasonally I would expect a different way matches sort of play out at the end. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I do think that a big part of the design of this game is that 10-minute mark. And so while I would personally love to play a 15-20 minute version of Pokemon Unite, I really would. Maybe they could do that as like a side mode to test it out. But ultimately, I think the main core mode and the continuity of this game will be reliant on that 10-minute mark. And I'm fine with that. As for changes, I think that it would be a bit of a disservice to the Pokemon IP not to do some kind of significant change, because, you know, Zapdos is not the only legendary bird or the only boss worth putting there. I mean, I've even said something along the lines of like, what if they put a trainer and he's like an NPC standing in there, and then you have like this 3 boss kind of thing where he, you know, he has like a literal animation where like the timer starts, like 2 minutes starts, and boom, he throws out a Pokeball, and, you know, a Gyarados spawns, and you have to tackle that, and then as soon as the Gyarados is tackled, you know, another Pokemon spawns. So it's like a single boss, but it's like cut into 3 parts. And that could even have some really interesting counterplay around it, because it's not just one shrinking health bar, but rather a 3-stage fight. Like, I mean, there's so many things you could do. I mean, Articuno, Moltres, Lugia. I mean, there's so much that they could potentially do with something as simple as just changing the boss part of the game.
Yeah, I really love the idea of having the boss maybe work in phases. That way, so many people won't feel like, oh, they just stole it right at the end. But maybe there's a moment where, yeah, you're fighting that Gyarados that gets thrown out, and your team does get the last hit on that Gyarados, which means something happens in the map, which means maybe they all get like boosted movement speed. So maybe this is a big time where people run to score because it's like 2 times scoring, but we don't have the instant dunks of Zapdos. So the question is, well, does the other team try to hold them back, or do they just say, we're not going to catch them, we're going to stay here and we're going to fight, the Magmortar or whatever that spawns in its place? Like, we're going to do that and hopefully win with that bonus. That's a really cool way to look at it. I also think they could easily do some of their, like, I don't know if it's Gigantamax or Gigantamax Pokemon. I assume it's Gigantamax, but you could have like a Gigantamax Meowth in there, and I think something like that would be so cool to see, like a giant fan favorite Pokemon like that fighting over the center. And maybe instead of the Zapdos, lightning bolts and all that stuff, it's just one of those things where it takes all the Eos energy from your enemies. So you don't get a score buff, you don't get instant dunks, but your opponent team has no Eos energy. So they almost have to defend at that point. I don't know. There are definitely different bosses they can put there that would change the game in such exciting ways.
Yeah, I mean, even something as simple as like, and maybe I'll ask this question first. I'm sure you also feel like Dreadnought is much more important than Rotom currently, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So even something as simple as maybe, in the next season, a balance change, but it is a pretty significant change, would be to put something similar in value where Dreadnought spawns, but in that, that at that 7-minute mark, you put Rotom in the Zapdos pit. So now it pulls the fight to the center, but you also have to consider the potential trade-off value on the lanes. And so, Rotom can have his little push mechanic, whatever they put in the bot lane might, add some kind of a maybe that is the shield part of Dreadnought, and then Dreadnought's just experience, or maybe it does give you like a damage boost for like a full like minute to 2 minutes or something. I don't know, it could be something really unique where just changing up the formula of the current way that we play the game could be incredibly interesting. And that's just this one map. I mean, another part of this discussion is, and we've obviously brought this up before, was design philosophy. Do they intend to keep one main map, or do we see them leaning into the world of Pokemon and these different cities and these different types of gyms and creating other maps? Now, obviously there's quick play, but there's the opportunity for them to add full serious ranked maps into the game. Very similar, if any of y'all aren't familiar with the game, like Heroes of the Storm, which is a Blizzard MOBA, where they pull different maps from all different kinds of like parts of their properties and worlds, Diablo, Overwatch, etc., and that is also played in ranked. What do you think about something like that?
I think if they did that, it would be a different mode. So I think they're going to keep this main mode with probably about the same structure, but, cosmetically maybe change it. And yeah, like you said, I love the idea of, even, let's say they just keep the idea of Rotom and Dreadnought, but maybe, Rotom is gone and it's Meganium or something up there. You KO it, your team gets like health regen, or just, I don't know. It's like something different happens there, so that there is a question as to whether you all go top, you all go bottom. But as far as a different map, I think similar to maybe a game like Smite, you would just see a separate queue for it. So, there would be the standard ranked, and then there might be a separate queue for, in Smite, there was a mode called Clash that I really, really loved. And it felt like it was almost like a quick version of their main game, but not exactly. And I think you could even do a 10-minute version, but maybe it's a 4-on-4 and the map is condensed, and we see kind of how that plays out. However, I think that main ranked mode is going to stay pretty much the same throughout the game's life. Pretty much.
Yeah, the cool thing about different maps, whether it be, a ranked or serious competitive map, or just some other kind of mode to bring to the game, and a reason why I think in the future adding maps as content is such an important piece of a game's development, like for a game like this, is that map design, objective design, it changes the viability of Pokemon. So like, currently, if you play some of the lesser viable Pokemon on some of the quick play maps, they're actually not as bad as they would feel in the current main mode of the game. So, I think that that's a good way of keeping the game fresh. And even though it may not impact the game on that competitive rank side of things, I think it has, serious potential to breathe a lot of life into the game, and would definitely be something that I would like to see. Now, we are kind of doing like a little mini wish list with this. What are you thinking about ranked, and what changes, what implementations, additions do you want to see around ranked, around matchmaking, around anything of that sort?
Well, I'll let you talk about matchmaking with similar skill level, because it's one of the biggest issues. It's so frustrating to be playing this game, and it's no fault of the players. I always want to make this clear. Like, I'm not mad at them because they don't know what's going on in this game or they don't know how to play, but the game has placed someone who is so inexperienced with people who are wildly experienced, and I think somehow they think there's a balance there, but there truly isn't. I want to play competitive games with competent people. Again, I'll let you talk more about that. I do think, though, for the ranked situation in the game, I don't know. I guess I'll stick on this for a second. I just think now that we have so many players in Masters, it's kind of got to just be a full queue of Masters players. I don't see why you wouldn't, with so many people making it to Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, someone asked me, they were like, how many people... Someone asked me, do I think there's a cap on how many people can make it to Masters? Which is no. And no. Then how many people do you think are in Masters? And I was like, 50,000, 100,000. I don't. It's way more than 10,000. I'll say that much. Just because that's what gets tracked. And currently, as of the time of this recording, I think making it to 10K on the world leaderboard requires like a 1350 rating, something like that. So it's definitely a ton of people. But yeah, in terms of matchmaking, or just having like a role or queue that's just Masters, I definitely think that is part of the bigger matchmaking issue, where the matchmaking just needs to be tighter blocks of skill. I think that the game could see some rank changes to make these rankings more accurate to the player skill. But realistically, I think that in most players, I have yet to find anybody that would disagree with this. It's silly to be a Masters player playing with an expert player. It is the most ridiculous thing. And again, I see this kind of sentiment that gets spit out, and I want to kind of stand up against it, where people will say, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not good at this game, don't touch ranked. No, I disagree with that take. Ranked is meant for all. That's why there are ranks. It's meant for everyone of skill levels to play against people of their skill level. That's the problem. We are playing not with people of our skill level. We have master players carrying vet players and ultra players, and sometimes expert players. We have expert players like they're deer in headlights. Like they don't know, they didn't queue, they didn't sign up for that, and it's just unfortunate, the current state of it. But the beautiful thing about this, and I think we've probably said it every time, incredibly fixable.
Yes, so I think some simple fixes, and you're so right. I also think everyone should be playing ranked and getting better at the game, because people do take ranked more seriously. I think that's great. It is just a problem when I've had this happen multiple times. I had a series of videos like the road to master rank, and I started beginner, free to play, all the way to master, just to show people like, yeah, it's it's doable. You can do it with a lot of different mons. And a few times people have noticed that I'll be matched with a couple of the same people when I'm queuing up, and they think like, wow, you're really carrying some of those people with you up the ranks. And it's true, even without me being a master rank player that's starting a new account, it's true that sometimes people can get wildly carried or wildly punished by the teammates that they're put with. So I think they do need to tighten that up a bit, and maybe they're just not even worried about it right now. They're just saying like, hey, let's make a game that people can get into. You find a match almost instantly, and then as this game progresses, we can sort of start to delineate between really high skill level players.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that it's all about laying the groundwork and collecting the data. That's what I'm really hoping. Like, let them see, well, how many people are really making it to this rank within our first season? How many people are really getting these wide, massive games? And how much do they think that they can flex the difference between the current matchmaking time versus what it'll inevitably be when they do make some of those changes? Because the reality is that there really isn't a such thing as perfect matchmaking. There is a trade-off for time spent waiting and high quality game, meaning fair game, versus very, very quick game and a much more wide skill. And make no mistake, I think that when you do have, for example, like a game of like two masters, one ultra, and say two veterans, the other team is probably similar skilled. It's probably the exact same setup. It's just, while that is a fair game technically because it's even, it's not a very high quality game because the skill range is crazy. So I definitely think that will change. I feel like it's an inevitability. What do you feel about the actual ranked mode itself, despite matchmaking, but the actual structure of it, the little diamond system, the master's points, whether you can't fall out of it, 5 stacking, not 5 stacking? How are you feeling about that?
As we've talked about before, I think we need a solo / duos queue and then a full 5-person team queue. And they clearly, behind the scenes, they try to make that work. But you do get matched as a solo player against a 5-stack. You can see it right away with how they're playing, or you just know some of the names because you've been in the game for a while and you go, oh, that's that team. We're going to get stomped right now. That's a bit of a problem. So I hope they separate that. The diamond system, I don't know. I'm not entirely opposed to how people rank up in this game. I want them to rank up if they're playing well also. I hate that there are bots. I don't know why you would throw a bot match into the rank system. It just feels like such an absolute waste to me. Something I would like to see outside of like this part of it, I would like to see some type of pick and ban once we get further in and we have more Pokemon. Although I did just have a moment where I realized, oh my God, someone on my team is going to ban, Pikachu. And I'm going to be like, why won't you ban Cinderace? What's wrong with you? Or something like that. But I do think we need some type of pick and ban. And I think a cool solution maybe. Have you ever played an auto chess style game, Krashy?
Yeah.
So in Dota Underlords, it's an auto chess style game, and they have a thing where every day there are different people on the pieces on the board that are banned. They're like in jail for the day and you can't use them. I almost wonder if they don't even have the pick and bans up to us for a moment, but in ranked for the day, like Lucario and Blissey are banned and people just have to play around that. I wonder what would happen if they did something like that. So it wasn't even up to players to make the decisions.
That'd be really interesting. It actually, I don't know if it's not really the same, but kind of, and I'm not even familiar with it too much, but in Apex Legends, they have like a crafting system. And when you open up that like interface to start the crafting, there's only like 2 items in it that you can craft. And that changes, I think, week to week. So it's like for the week, it'll, let's say, like have a helmet and a backpack, but like for the next week it'll be like a weapon attachment or something. So it really does influence the game because it's just this random system that they've essentially put in. That could be really interesting. I think the MOBA player in me would like, I want the pick ban strategy and the fun part of it so much. But, on the pick ban side of things, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I think that's a really cool, it's a unique way of forcing a shakeup without it even being in our hands, which could feel really cool. On the pick ban side of things, what's your number? Like, how many Pokemon do you think there needs to be? Because I kind of feel like I know what I think it should be before that gets implemented, but I'm curious.
Well, I think you need how many bans do you think there'd be? Just 2, 1 from each team?
I think you could definitely start there. Yeah, I mean, because like if you look at like the history of League of Legends, it was like 3 and 3, and then eventually it got to like 5 or 6 or whatever it is now. So it definitely could change with time based on the roster size.
I think if you had 1 ban from each team, honestly, you could do it right now. Basically, there's enough from in each role. It would be a little weird. I guess with certain Pokemon, I mean, I feel like you'd walk into every game right now and and I think they want to avoid this. And Sylveon and Venusaur would probably be banned in every single game, or Sylveon Lucario, something like that. So maybe the roster needs to increase by another, I don't know. This is just thrown out, but 10 Pokemon, like a couple in each role, and then all of a sudden it's ready to go. What do you think?
I was thinking like near 30 or so. What are we at? 23, 24 right now?
Yeah,
we're on one of those numbers. I can't remember which one it is, but I was thinking near 30. And the reason why is I do think that we could do it now. The reason why is that when you create a pick ban phase, it requires more licenses to be owned. So when you it is a side thought, and that's why I think the pick ban phase is an inevitability down the line, or could be an inevitability down the line, because they want to give more players more of that free to play time, that early period to actually collect and earn or potentially spend to buy those licenses. But if we had a 2 ban, meaning 1 for each team and 10 characters picked, you would need a minimum of 12 licenses. And that's a substantial jump from 5, because I'm sure there are people that are playing with, maybe like 7-8 Pokemon on their roster entirely, and that would kick them out of rank. So I think we need a little bit more time in terms of literal time for the game to age, so people can get more Pokemon licenses, but also just to fill out those roles. Now, the funny thing that you said was that I think they maybe Venusaur and Sylveon would be banned like every game. The cool thing about that, though, was that it gives residency to the player to deal with balance. And I like that, because you can go into a pick ban phase saying like, hey, don't ban that thing because we can get it. Or you can go into it like, dude, I don't want to play against that. That thing sucks to play against. So that's always the fun part about it. And I do think that I hope that we'll see something like that. But what other wish list items are you feeling? I mean, a new season's around the corner. It's, currently we're getting toward the end of the year. That means some holidays might be coming up. Anything holiday related?
It's dumb because I don't even buy a lot of the Hollowware or anything like that. Like, I've had a real back and forth on whether to get this ridiculously priced Ninetales one. I still haven't got it. But I really would like seasonal things for the Pokemon. I know it's like whatever, but I mean, you put a Santa hat on Snorlax and I'm like, yeah, dude, you nailed it. I can't wait to play
I had someone in a stream chat recently tell me that they want to see Mamoswine, but the skin he's literally a full igloo with some tusks hanging out. I was like, that's so cool. Like, yeah. And that's just because December themed or Christmas themed, even if you don't even have to be December themed to do that. It would just be really, really unique. That's a big silhouette change. And like I said in the past, I'm a little worried about the licensing behind that. Like, maybe they can't go that far. But the Gengar skin, the spacesuit on him, it was a pretty big change. I mean, granted, you can still tell it's Gengar, but that's a pretty solid one, and I like that. So I hope that they have some room to do some things like that. And holiday wise, man, there's so many holidays that are global and just different cultures here and there that I would love to see them pull that in, just for if nothing else other than the cultural representation of the people of the world, because this game has been running for decades and there's so many different cultures and people that enjoy it that I would love to see something for that. So yeah, Santa, Snorlax, Pumpkinhead Gengar, or Igloo, Mamoswine, I could definitely get behind something like that.
Yeah, finally something for Cramorant. Give him some antlers or something. I mean, let's do something with this little bird, right?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'm trying to think. I mean, new map potential, or just heavy map changes, even if it's season to season, or just light cosmetic map changes, would be so fun. New content in general, I think, is just great to add, because we know we're going to continue to get new release Pokemon, and the business model is to sell us things, so for sure they're going to keep that pushing. But yeah, man, I'm always ready for more Unite, for sure.
Same. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, Krashy. I mean, I feel like I could keep going on, because I'm like, well, what if they have a Halloween theme event and it lasts for 2 weeks? It's a shorter event, but you can get in without a battle pass and all these things. So,
oh gosh, let me hit on it really quickly. They could put it in the events tab and have rewards for it, but it might be like a Halloween quick play map where you have to defeat this boss in a PvE style. So now it's not only just 4v4 or 5v5, but it's 10 people on 2 sides coming at it. There's so much. Yes, this game's a MOBA. Yes, it has MOBA feel to it, but it's also Pokemon. So lean into it. Give us the gems, give us the cities, give us the content that we want to see, because I mean, I don't even know it all that well, and I know people would get so hyped up. It could be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a system with Dynamax raids and stuff that they could do with multiple teams. So much. But again, I think we could just keep talking about it. I think this is a great place for us to say goodbye to everyone, though, Krashy. So thank you so much for being here. Any final words?
No, man, I just love doing this, love doing what we're doing. For all the supporters out there on both sides, all sides, we appreciate y'all. And yeah, this is our thing.
My thoughts exactly. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you for listening. I love you. I love you, Krashy, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.